Hi, I'm Ven. Welcome to my book corner. This is one of my outstanding videos I had left over that I didn't get to in December. One of my last two videos I'm intending to make for a little while, but I really do want to talk about this series because I find the idea of this one really interesting. In this one, I want to talk a little bit about the Draw the World series by M.A. Walter. We've spoken about their books in the past with the Spectroverse series. This is a very different tact, however, because this is a far more interactive book, or series of books, I should say. There's more than one in the series. And the Draw the World series is basically, for want of a better word, it is a draw your own comic series. So it has a number of prompts in there, a number of character cards, some story beat moments as well, and then it has a number of panels for you to then draw. So very much this is a prompted artwork. Now, I will say before I show anything of the books, I have zero ability to draw. There are sponges on fire under the sea. Don't know how that works. Probably does though with global warming. But there's sponges under the sea with more artistic ability than I do. So there is going to be a dearth of pictures in here. I do have one picture in there, which my eldest has drawn. Unfortunately, he hasn't really been home too much over the festive period. So the intention to get him to draw more of it has unfortunately not panned out. However, I'll show you what he's drawn. I will show you as well a few different panels, a few of the different character pages from one of the books. The book I'm going to be choosing for this specifically is Carve Allen, which is the second book I think that he released, but these are all standalones in their own world. You also have a couple of others which I will touch on. I have 3 of them at the moment, which Mark very kindly did gift to me, so thank you for that. But let's jump straight in. We're going to switch the camera around and take a look at the books themselves. So as you can see, we have the 3 books on the table. We have Umbrafell. So Umbrafell is a Carve Allen, which is the one we're going to look specifically at today. This is a world of fantasy heroes, which, as we all know, is my preferred genre. And finally, we have the Order of Zalakar, which is gothic heroes. So, as we open these up, these are quite big. These are A5? No, A4. A4. So you open them up, you have a front page. Let's move them out of the way so we can do this properly. Also, yes, I have decided to crush my thumb. No, there is not a good reason for that. So, apparently it wants to zoom in on my hands. Great. So, as we look through it, first of all, you do have the kind of invite, for want of a better word. So for Carve Allen, it is, welcome artist, we've been waiting for you. This isn't just a story, it's a whole world waiting to be born through your imagination. Behind the words, heroes and villains lie in fragments, only you can shape them. In these pages, you'll find sparks, character seeds, shards of lore, and hints of the battles to come. But Carve Allen cannot exist until you shape it. Every line you draw, every design you bring to life, weaves the universe itself into being. Without your imagination, Carve Allen stays silent, but with you, the world grows, evolves, and comes to life. This is your canvas, your comic, your Carve Allen. Pick up your pen and show us what it looks like. So straight off, you have the intent here. This is giving you some prompts to give your own take on the world that is described. And we will touch a little bit on some of that as well. You have a contents page. So on the contents page, you have a number of characters and bits and pieces. And then you have the introduction. Now, I would say this is probably the last page you will draw once you've drawn the rest of it, because then you'll have an idea of the story and the lore and the aesthetic you are potentially going for on this one. And then we get into what I will call the actual introduction to Carve Allen itself. So in this case, this is in many ways a relatively standard fantasy setup. You have your wonders, magic, dragons. You have some fate influences there as well, but with a little bit of a twist. So if you want to read a little bit of that, pause the video here and we can bounce onwards. And then we have the realm of Cavalon. So to me, this is a map page. I don't know if that's the intention. To me, this feels like the page to draw the world map, which again, you will do a little bit of as you build the world out, because then you turn and then you've got the peoples of Cavalon information about the races of the world. So the Grathun, the Velori and the humans, as well as the monstrous and rare folk. So like giants, ogres, trolls, probably goblins, potentially quite often it falls into that category as well. So some information about the continent itself. So as you can see, it looks like there is some inspiration potentially from Welsh in here, with Betsy Colled, which not far from where I am, there's Betsy Colled, which is a beautiful area of Wales, which people really should visit. But some information about the northern region, the central region and the southern region. So this is kind of giving you your broad brushstrokes to work with about the world, so you know the key bits that are there. This is giving structure to the work. So this is why I kind of think of this as a prompted comic artwork. And there's a reason why I really like that, but I'll touch on that at the end. Map of Galavar, so that's definitely not the map page. That's the map page. There we go. That shows how long it's been since I opened the book. And then we have the only drawing in the book, part 1, Vaynar. Vaynar is one of the characters. You have stats there for strength, intelligence, fighting, magic, power, and speed. You can kind of think of this as a character card, almost like a collectible card in many regards, to give an idea of the stats of our main character, or at least this character. And then we bounce into the character card, which gives us his role or his profession or his, I suppose you could potentially call it his class. Background, origin of powers, so where his powers actually come from, what his powers actually are, weakness and personality. And then you have another page there for Vaynar. So you have a couple of pages there. So you have that one, which would be like on the front of the card, and that could potentially be, for me personally at least, that'd be like the full, if I could draw, that'd be the full body standing up with the background, you know, very much the dramatic piece. And then you have the issue 1 summary. So this is the story beats that your part 1 is drawing from. So this tells you a little bit about Vaynar, the haunted forest you've got in there, various other bits and pieces. So this gives you an idea of the situation that Vaynar's found themselves in and gives you those prompts. And this is where I'm going to touch on why I really like this, because quite often as a parent, I will go, why don't you draw something? That doesn't give anyone any guidance whatsoever. And the wonderful thing about anyone in general, but especially the younger people, which I would argue this is potentially aimed at, although probably teenagers, I'd say, more than anything else, is that you can end up with choice paralysis or not knowing where to start. And that takes away this barrier. So a couple of pages there, not too much, but basically this gives an idea of how you will then structure your panels. And as we turn over, as we can see there, we have a few pages of panels to draw out the action from those 2 pages. And this way it really does link into the comic book feel. So you could then potentially break away, depending how you choose to do it, and break this into multiple scenes, draw each scene in its own panel. You've got action in there, you've got consequence as well. Panels do vary slightly in size in places, and that comes in later in the book as well. I'll then lead you into part 2, which is another character, which is Brennus. And again, this is where the rival system sort of kicks in, because heroes need a villain to play off quite a lot of the time. So again, this gives you the opposite, and it gives you a chance to maybe tweak some of those aesthetics a little bit, because realistically, the villain character is probably going to have a much darker, more foreboding aesthetic. And same sort of setup. You have the character card with all the information. Bit less here. I'd say they're less than of our point of view character in Vaynar is. And then you get into Vaynar versus Brainness, which is issue 2 of the comic, so to speak. So this would be like your comic front page. And again, similar sort of thing. You have the talk through, and then you have the panels again, and so on and so forth. Aya and Elithil, just on a side point, love this. Love the idea of a sentient weapon. It's one of the things that I love most in fantasy, when the weapon talks to you. If you've ever played Baldur's Gate 2 and picked up Lilithor, the most irritating sword in any game ever, but also amazing, who just shouts at you throughout going, "Can we stab something now?" You will know the joy and hatred that these things can create. So, and then this gives us a secondary character, a bit more discovery, and again, diving a bit more into the magical aesthetic, and so on and so forth. And that is how it runs throughout. So obviously, as well, worth mentioning that this is a free gift once again. So, but you also have these pages at the back where you can create your own characters. So whilst earlier on you're setting up your own characters, the characters that are provided, you can then build off those with other characters that you throw into the mark, that you can design yourself and send them on their own stories, giving you a little bit of time to create their background, their origin powers, their powers and abilities, and do the same thing. So not only does this act as a prompt for the artwork, it acts as a prompt for the drawing. Before you get into the epilogue, where potentially your characters will join up with the characters that have been created for the book specifically, and then would set up potentially something else further down the line. So just the advertisement page, that's generally for other indie authors, just worth mentioning that here. And then you've got Umbrafall, Beyond the Singularity, which I have not got, and various other little bits of advertising in there as well. Now, they all follow this same sort of, what's the word I'm after? This same structure. Structure's the one that I am after. And there's a few different ways you can use these books. So I'm just going to pop the Zalakart down on top, because these are an amazing way to get people to engage with their own imagination, give them some prompts so they don't get the frustrated stage, because you do already have a pre-built structure in there initially. And by the time you get to the end of the book, then you could well be brimming with ideas. I like that. I like that a lot. That's the sort of thing that would have probably got me more into drawing when I was younger, because I need that little bit of structure to keep me a bit constrained. Otherwise, my brain goes blah, 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 and I forget everything. No great surprise to anyone that knows me, that one. So really, really, really like that. And the fact that then at the end of the books as well, you have the sort of properly blank canvas to create your characters within this world. And I really like that as well. Now, this wasn't the intention for this, but I like the idea of an idea that I'm going to float now for this as well. Is I like the idea of using this, especially the blank pages, and you need to be an arty person to do this one. But if you play TTRPGs or anything like that, this could be a great way to comic book your own recaps for what you have done as well, or to use it as like a character idea to give backstory for a campaign you may be thinking of building, stuff like that. There are a load of possibilities in here for different things you can do. I would love if these potentially came with like an extended sort of packaging set which had just the extra pages of the blank comic panels, or examples of the like smaller versions of the character cards, so you can make your own character cards and stuff like that. I would love to see something like that with this. But overall, I think this is a really, really interesting approach to take to hitting art and promoting art in general. It's something that I don't see a huge amount of. Now that, admittedly, I'm not really in an arty space most of the time because, again, no artistic ability. But I would love to hear from people who are artistic to let me know what they think of this one. But as I say, right now I have Umbrafil, which is super powered heroes. That's I said sci-fi before. It's not. I do apologise. It's your more traditional superheroes. Salakar, which is gothic heroes. Kavalan, which is the world of fantasy heroes, and there are other ones coming as well. The other thing I will say, just as a minor critique, for me personally, as somebody who does read comics and graphic novels, that I would also like to see with this, I would like to see a little bit more variation in panel sizes and shapes, because quite often what you will get in comics and manga and stuff is you'll quite often get like a long one that takes the whole like part of a page, and then small ones breaking off it, just to add a little bit more dynamism. Is that a word? It is now. More of a dynamic feel to how some of the panels could fit together. But certainly as a starting block, I love the ideas of these. I want to say a massive thank you to Mark as well for sending these to me. He's been a great supporter of the channel, and I really appreciate all the support you have given me. What I would love to know though, and I am going to tag somebody in this who I know is arty, so their tag will be down below, so go and check their channel out. Right now, I just refer to them as art all the time, and I cannot remember their channel name, but it will be linked down below, and I'll pop it on screen. I'd love to know, if you're an arty person, what you think of this concept of Draw the World. Is this something that you would find helpful in the creative process? Is this something that you think might help people who are sort of get a bit stuck with the ideas side of things before they start drawing? Is this the sort of thing that potentially would help people to really get immersed in their art rather than just getting stuck in the idea stage? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. And again, thank you to Mark for sending me these. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you all very soon.